Welcome everybody, and thank you to Liberty for the chance to be with you this evening. Lots of questions. So I'm Janet Unterschlag and I'm here with you for an hour. Right, we start with Vuletsani Bravi says how to write a narrative and descriptive essays. So yes, establish just very simply that the narrative essay you're going to tell some kind of story, and a descriptive essay you're just going to describe. Now, by this time, you should know that the only way you learn how to write is by writing. So when you ask me, how do you write this kind of essay? You need to send me the 3 essays that you've tried, let's say. So you've tried a descriptive, you've tried a narrative, and you've tried something which you think could be a combination of both. And let me have a look at it. Because how do you write it? Well, you've got to pick up a pen, and you've got to plan, and then you've got to write. So I'm really not sure what you want me to say. How do you write it? Well, with this one, you tell me some sort of story, an anecdote, something out of your life, and with this one, you just describe. So let us imagine a topic. So let's take the topic red, and now I would need you at the end of a phone so that I could ask you, if I gave you the topic red, what would you write about? So the first thing is you need to write about something that comes out of your own experience. Now, why? Because you want your own voice. So I don't really want to know something which you've seen on TV or seen on social media, and it doesn't really have your own input. Now, you could write any kind of essay you liked on the topic of red, but if you wanted to write a narrative essay, then I need some kind of story which involves the color red. So maybe you are a Man United or Liverpool supporter, and you would write about seeing a whole lot of red at a match. If you were going to write just a description, then maybe you just describe the fans. So just descriptions of the fans themselves and the red scarves and the red hats and what have you. So it's very difficult for me to respond to this, because how to write it? You need to show me what you're doing, and then I can give you some advice and some tips on how to improve it. And that comes to my next problem, which is the same candidate who says how to choose an essay topic. So that's actually easier than the second part, which is about how to plan it and how to write the introduction. So yes, choosing an essay topic. This is critical. You have to make the right choice. So the first thing that you need to do is to think about what you want to write about. What do you want to share? What are you excited about? What do you know a lot about? What are you very interested in that you are an expert on, and so you could make it interesting for somebody else? So I would suggest that's the first thing. So I often mention the fact that I had a student a number of years ago who did dog training. So he was an expert. He had lots of interesting stories, things that you wouldn't have known otherwise if you weren't part of dog training. So he was interesting. That's what he would like to write about. So let's say he looks down the essay topics. So the first thing is he's looking for anything that would help him. And let's say 7.1 is a picture and 7.2 is a picture. He's looking for, is there something about dog training? It's what I really know about. It's what I want to share, I'm excited about, I know about, I'm interested in, and I'm an expert on. So he's not going to force the topic, but he's looking to see if there's a topic that lends itself to his favorite subject? What if there isn't? Then you go back through the topics again and you look at each topic and you say, well, do I know anything about this? Am I interested in something here? Is there something here I would want to share? Now, students said to me, one particular student said a number of years ago that she was very angry. She was in grade 11. She said, because the topics are so broad. They are things like identity or embarrassment. And she said, are you surprised that you get awful essays? So what would we get for those topics? What is identity? Have you ever felt embarrassed? Those kinds of rhetorical questions are ghastly. And the essays that follow are usually just this generic waffle. So generic means that any child could have written it, or anybody in matric. Average age is sort of 18 to 25, but you get people younger and you get people right up into their 60s. Generic. What does that mean as well? It means it's got to do with generalizations. Everybody has felt embarrassed at some point in his or her life. It's vague. It's waffle. And finally, it is incredibly boring. Boring. You know, I sometimes read the introductions to, from an exam. I'll read it to the class and say, do you want me to read the rest of this essay? Do you want me to read another line of this essay? No. Why not? Because it's boring, because it's dull, because we know what's coming. Things like identity is very important. The people that we meet, please notice the we, make you, please notice the you, who one is, please notice the one. So the pronouns are all these vague, horrible pronouns, we, you, one. When one is 18, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not 18. So you need to say to yourself, where is my voice coming from? This is not me. Where is me in this? I want to hear your voice. I want to hear it. I want to get a feeling of the candidate behind the essay. And believe me, it happens. You get a feeling, this is a boy, this is a girl. You can hear the voice. When you go home in the evening, something in that essay stays with you because it was real. Keep it real. If you say, identity is very important. Yeah, we all know that. Everybody's been embarrassed. We all know that. All right, so can I remember something about embarrassment? Yes, I can. Listen to this, in 1977, in my first year of teaching, gosh, yes, right, there was a child who wrote about how she, and this was an all-girls school, went on a bus every morning with some boys from the all-boys school down the road. And she and this boy, she was in grade 9, used to have this constant ding-dong of who's going to have the last word. And always this determination that you're going to one-up the other one, right? And she told me so many years ago, right? And I've never forgotten, that on this particular day, he'd said something really smart, and then she thought about an even better response. And she leaned out of the bus to yell, because he'd now got off, to yell her brilliant, amazing one-liner that was going to put him down forever. And the doors of the bus closed on her neck. And then, of course, they opened again. But I've never forgotten that. Why? Because it was so real. Real. And yes, can I remember the rest of it? No, I can't remember another thing. But I remember that. It was amusing and horrifying. And are you all right? But you want to laugh as well because it's really funny. She was fine. No injury. And she was okay. But she told the story against herself. so that we all laughed with her about this, and she shared it with us. So that's really important. So you want your own voice. So all of this doesn't achieve your own voice. You must write about something real to you, something important to you. And it doesn't matter if it's a narrative or a descriptive or an opinionative essay, as long as it's got a real voice and I can hear you. I can feel I've connected with you as a real human being at the other end of that essay. That's what's important. And then if we come back to this, how do you plan it? Well, I can't plan it for you because it's not my essay. And if I start planning, it's not going to be my essay. How do you write an introduction? So you're not the only person who's asked about this. I've also got from Mpilo Smith, how to start an introduction of an essay to make sure that it's powerful. And from Nasi Ni, plan an introduction. Now, my answer to all of you is exactly the same thing. How many essays have you planned this year? How many essays have you written this year? Why haven't you scanned them in and sent them to me so that I can look at them and give you some feedback? Because if I say to you, okay, this is how you should plan an essay, right, I can take a blank page. I can say, well, in the middle, you indicate that you're going to start your mind map. So we're going to do the bus. So we're going to do the bus. That's the wheels of my bus. And I'm going to have the door in the middle. And I'm going to have this child's face, bless her cotton socks, sticking out of it. But I can't actually plan the rest of this essay because I don't remember what else she said. What were they fighting about? What did they try to one-up each other about on the way to school every morning? I don't know. So I can tell you that every line that comes off is a paragraph. All the ideas linked to this topic sentence must come off this paragraph. I can tell you these things, that you write one word on each line, that they are the key words only. I can tell you to draw to help yourself remember. That's a key. So I can tell you these things. When you have a new idea, you must start a new paragraph. It will have its own topic sentence. All the ideas linked to this will be on a line. Cut out all the unimportant words. New paragraph would have a new line. Oh, no, I didn't want that. I wanted a new color. That's better. And that all these ideas would be linked. And the ideas are linked to each other. And it's one word above and below the line. So if we just try to plan that last little bit. So we have her, she leans out of the bus, twisting her body so that she can yell at his, let me wipe this out, because if you remember, the line must be as long as the word. So I want the word retreating. He's retreating back. My line must go to there. And I'm going to put one word under the line. So she leans out of the bus, twisting her body to yell after his retreating back. And then the doors hiss shut. And they trap her by, this is now too long, go back to my rubber. They trap her so that the rubber, I don't know, the rubber sides, can't think of the door, are, they're round her neck. So her neck is trapped between the rubber sides of the door. Now, what do we know about mind mapping? Why do I like mind mapping? because it's only the key words. According to Tony Buzan, whose idea this is, you count the number of words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And he says, you need to know how many words the paragraph will be if you've got 13 key words. Now, obviously, I'd like a little bit more in this paragraph. I'd need to develop it, but you need, so how do you write? You practice writing this out in full and see, okay, 13 keywords get me, let's say, to 30 words. I don't know how many it's going to get you to, so you need to do the practicing. Then the second thing is, the lines are your thoughts. So Tony Buzan says that you need to thicken the line that comes off the central thing, because this is the key idea. She was leaning out of the bus. That's the key idea, and he says that should be thicker, and then as you go on, it becomes thinner. So this should be a little bit thicker, getting quite thin at the end. Then he says you must be able to read it forwards. She was leaning out of the bus, twisting her body, her shoulders, and yelling after his retreating back. The doors hissed shut. She was trapped between the rubber sides of the door, and her neck caught firmly. Tony Buzan says as well that a mind map must be neat. So you must be able, if these are your ideas, if these are your thoughts, then it must be linked, because your thoughts are linked, right? So you must be able to read it backwards. Her neck was caught between the rubber sides of the bus, and she was trapped. This happened when the hissing shut of the doors happened. That happened when she was looking at his retreating back and yelling at him, twisting her body as she leant out of the bus. So if you've got a mind map and you say to your teacher, oh, it's such a mess you won't be able to read it, then it's not a proper mind map. It's got to be neat enough and have the key words in it so that you can get it back. I must be able to look at it and make some sense of it. Maybe not complete sense, because you've only got key words and certain things have been left out. And it must be able to be read forwards and backwards. So what do I see with students is very often the mind map is this. It's what I call a porcupine. And then sometimes there might be a word written over here or a word written over there. That's not a mind map. How do I read that forwards and backwards? I can't. And it's not coherent. If you look at this, how many paragraphs has this got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 paragraphs, because every line off the center, this is your center where your picture's meant to be, is a paragraph if you're planning an essay. So it's not properly planned. That's not a mind map. Then also what students do is they say, okay, here's my mind map, and they've got and then they write out every single word. I was leaning. They write out the paragraph. That's not a mind map either. That's a draft. You've made it look like a mind map, but it's actually a draft. So then we come to, do you have time to plan, write a draft, and write the final in your exam? Yes, if you are FAL. No, if you're home language. So it depends on the length of the pieces that you are planning. So now I need to know questions about you. For example, how many words do you get on a line? I get 8 on average, which means that I know if I'm writing 400, 450 words, that's 2 sides in my handwriting. You need to know that. Then the next thing is, how long does it take you to write that? How long does it take you to write, just writing a 450-word essay? How long? And if you don't know that about yourself, you haven't practiced enough. So what I'm saying is, if you know that you can write 500 words in half an hour, neat, not a scrambled mess, 500 words in 30 minutes. Then you say to yourself, okay, how long can I plan for? If they say to me, plan for, or your essay should take you an hour, then you can plan for half an hour. And you need to know that. You can't start doing this in your matric exam. You can't start practicing and playing around and trying different things and trying different styles and trying different genres. Not in the matric exam. By the time you're in the matric exam, you've got to be pretty good at what you do, which means that you should be sending me your essays for me to look at and to give you feedback on. And you should have been doing this all year. And I know we've had lockdown, but most of you have phones and you can take a shot and WhatsApp it to a teacher and say, could you have a look at this and please give me some feedback? So we've got time. You've got a week. You've got time to start writing. So those of you who are asking me about how do I plan, I don't know because I can't plan for you, but I can look at your plan and say, problem here, or yeah, but. Now, a lot of students say to me, do we get marks for the plan? We do not start by looking at the plan. We start reading the essay. And we read the essay, and there are 10 different ideas in the first paragraph, and the first paragraph is 250 words. I start looking for the plan, because this is far too long. We need one main idea per paragraph. If I've got 4 ideas, main ideas, not developed, not one idea developed, 4 main ideas, then I haven't got a plan. So students say, but how do you mark the planning without looking at the planning? Because I can see it in the essay. I can see when it's planned. I can see when it's structured. How many students in an exam, they've written something like this, and then they write here, new paragraph. How did that happen if you planned? What is that? That's a dead giveaway that you weren't planning, because you didn't look back at your mind map, which was over here, and saw, oh, okay, that's that idea. Now I've got a new paragraph. I must start, leave a whole line open, start a new paragraph. Okay, so I know that's not madly helpful, Vuletsani and Mpilo and Nasi, but it's really difficult for me to tell you how to do this without seeing what you are doing. However, I thought I had, so I was looking at this. So what makes a powerful introduction? How do I plan my introduction? Okay. There are obviously different ways of introducing, and I've talked about this before. So you can begin with direct speech. But remember, the problem with that is you need to know how to punctuate it and how to paragraph it. So, for example, you need to know that it begins with a capital letter and that the full stop or the question mark those punctuation marks are inside the inverted commas. The next thing, which many students forget, is that each new speaker is a new paragraph. So if you've decided that you're going to begin with how's it? So you want to begin with a very colloquial opening and you go, I don't know, good, brah. Then you absolutely have to know how to punctuate and how to paragraph. So we've begun with opening the inverted commas and a capital letter, the question mark, close the inverted commas. We've left a whole line open because this is a new speaker. We've begun with our inverted commas, a capital letter, a comma because I'm directly addressing somebody, and because I'm directly addressing that person, I've used a capital letter, full stop, close inverted commas. Otherwise, your wonderful and amazing opening where you've used direct speech has irritated the marker because you don't know the mechanics of direct speech. So be careful. Okay, the most important thing that I say to my learners is BUM, which is begin in the moment. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to begin in the present tense, but you begin with something important already happening. Now, the best way of looking for this is take out a book of short stories and open it to the opening paragraphs. If you've done a Shakespearean play, think about the beginning of a Shakespearean play, so that if you've done Hamlet, it begins with stand and unfold yourself. Marcellus, he, you come most carefully upon your hour. We are in the middle of a conversation. These men are nervous, anxious, disturbed. We don't know why. We're building to a climax. We're building to the arrival of the ghost. But we've begun in this moment of, it's really cold and I'm so glad you've come because I'm going now, bye. We begin like that. If you have done Othello, it begins with, I take it much unkindly that thou, Iago, who's had my purse, as if the strings were thine, should know of this. We as the audience don't know who's speaking. We know that the other person's called Iago. We have no idea why this person handed his purse over to Iago. Should know of this. What is the this? We don't know what's going on. But these examples come from somebody who really knows his craft. But he begins in an important moment. It's not the climax. It's an important moment and he builds to a climax. So I used to say that students can begin like with the climax and then write a flashback to explain how we got there. Okay, I used to say this in 2010. It is now no longer 2010. I won't have flashbacks. They're now banned. Why? Because students begin with quite an important moment. They begin with, I tumbled over, the whistle blew, I'd got the penalty. Yes, right, with you, got it. It was a sunny Saturday morning. The birds were cheeping. I leapt out of bed and opened the curtains. The sun was shining. It was going to be a glorious day. I went to the bathroom. I had a shower. I cleaned my teeth. You're getting it. You've got to say to yourself, that flashback is doing nothing for your essay. It's not contributing to emotion or atmosphere or anything else. It is bland, dull, boring, awful. And so I've banned flashbacks. Students do them so badly that they actually are shooting themselves in the foot rather than creating a good essay. So until you learn how to use a flashback, please don't even think about it. So don't begin with the penalty. But don't tell me, I mean, I get a lot of football essays, right? Loads of them. Don't tell me the warm-up, the arrival at the ground, the dressing room, the fans' arrival, onto the field, first half, coach talking to you, second half, end of the game. That's really boring. So say to yourself, I definitely want to do the moment of the penalty. Definitely. So I need to find something important. Maybe I need to do, maybe the practice, which would have been, let's say, 2 days before. I was practicing penalties and how was I managing? Good, indifferent. Maybe coach said, no, not going to use you. I'm going to use Kaketsu. He's so much better. Bad luck. Right. Then we come to the first half. So I've got to eliminate Kaketsu. So unfortunately, sorry, he's got to twist his ankle. Let's not have him break a collarbone. We just want him a tiny bit injured and carried off. So he's carried off. Now we've got, so that's all I've done is that moment and you're angry and the fans are boo, whatever, right? He's carried off. Then I'm going to go to the penalty because I knew how badly I was doing them in practice. Right, now where are you going to end? My husband tells me about an essay that was written when he was at school, and it was a rugby match. The guy, it puts his the ball down, does the whole thing with the sand, steps back, does the whole measuring thing, runs forward. That's where the essay ended. And it was clever because we didn't know. Mostly, especially my grade 8s and 9s, they win the match, they man of the match, they carried off. But that was quite nice because of this not knowing. And I think that would work quite well in this essay, is if you ended with the whistle and maybe the goalkeeper lunging to his left and you kick. And just leave it there. Because did you actually kick and it's saved? Or did you get it like in the top corner? Or did you get it over here? Just leave it. I think that would work quite nicely because of how badly you were doing at practice. But guys, I can't write this essay for you. All right? I've never played a game of football. Watched them. Yes, never played them. Played rugby once. Disaster. I've never been so bruised in my life. Never again. That was my one and only rugby experience. Right, so talk to me. When you say, how do you write this? I don't know, because I don't know what you want to write. And sometimes a really short introduction, 15 words, 2 sentences, really effective. Sometimes a long introduction, 100 words. You build slowly. You're creating mood. You're creating atmosphere. Maybe you want to create a really spooky atmosphere, and then you're going to explode it later on in the essay. So people think maybe they're reading a typical ghost story, and they're not. They're reading something completely different. I don't know. I can't really plan this for you. All right, so that's as helpful as I can be. Please send it to me. Then the last one on this page is the difference between an interview and a dialogue. And I'm not sure where, yes, okay. So what's the same thing between the interview and the dialogue is that it would be written like this. Remember, I like a line open between each speaker. It's just easier to read. And you block it. And if you want any kind of stage direction, it's meant to come in here. I hate stage directions. But if you wanted to say angry, you could put it in there in brackets. I prefer you to show me that she's angry. Right, so that's what makes them the same. What will make them different is the topic. An interview is fundamentally questions and answers, and a dialogue is fundamentally a conversation. Remember, with the question, try to have, obviously usually the questions are short, try to build the answers slightly longer, sort of 50 to 80 words. Try not to have little bitty things. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? Good. Oh, and with an interview, don't go, would you like tea? No, thank you. Coffee? No, thank you. Water? No, thank you. Try to put all of that in your scenario. Remember, you'll always have a little scenario first, which is basically the topic, where you say, so-and-so is interviewing so-and-so on this particular program for TV or whatever it is. And a dialogue is usually a much more relaxed conversation. Okay, so that's the end of my first page of questions. So let's take an ad break, and I'll get to the second page.